Hey guys, we're going to go over the multiple choice 35 through 40. You also should have done these answers in odd and checked your answers. Okay, so let's review. So question number 35 says, a popular website places opinion poll questions next to many of its news stories. Simply click your response to join the sample. So notice you get to choose whether or not you click the button, which means you get to decide if you're in the survey or not. That would mean we have a voluntary response on our hands. So the results tell us very little about the population because the people volunteered their information. So maybe if you're wanting to diet, you're like, ooh, I'm interested in this. People that aren't interested just simply didn't click the button. So you're more likely to get extreme opinions, positive or negative, when you do a voluntary response. Question number 36. To gather information about the validity of a new standardized test for 10th graders in a particular state, a random sample of 15 high schools was selected from the state. The new test was administered to every student in the selected school. What kind of sample is this? So notice the clump was the high school. So I'm going to call that a cluster sample. And it's kind of hard to read that word, so maybe I'll just reprint it. The clump, remember, the clump was the high school itself. So this is similar to if we tested everyone in Miss Kruzmark's class, that's a clump. So every kid in the United States, every 10th grader, didn't have an equal chance of being chosen, and that's not how we surveyed. We didn't number every single 10th grader. We, in fact, just numbered the clumps of high schools and then tested everybody in the clump cluster. All right, now let's look at, these are really cool questions. I like 37. If you read in your textbook, they'll show you how to do it. I'm happy to do that as well. So your stats class has 30 students. You want to ask an SRS of 5 students from your class whether they use a mobile device for online quizzes. You label the students 01, 02, all the way through 30. All right. You enter a table of random digits. So if you flip to the back of the book, you'll see like a whole bunch of numbers, okay? And I'm going to walk you through this process, but you see a bunch of numbers. And this looks kind of weird to people to begin with. But literally a computer went in and randomly generated a number from 1 to 9 and pooped it out. There it is, the number 1. Then it did it again, randomly generated a number from 1 to 9, pooped it out. That's what all these numbers are right here, are randomly generated numbers. So you might be thinking, why did they space this out here? What does that mean? Did they randomly generate numbers of 5 digits? And the answer is no. We just randomly generated numbers from 1 to 9, and then we repeated that process over and over again. So the reason behind this spacing here is just for our eyeballs. The human eyeball we have trouble reading numbers if they don't have a regular space in there. So you might see that if my credit card number was 407-360-225-37892, you're like, whoa, that'd be too hard. So we actually typically space them every 4 numbers, and we find that rather usable. We can read the numbers off our credit card. Think of that in our Social Security number, right? My Social Security number is 33278, and then 4 more numbers. I don't want to give you my Social Security number, but you get the point. We space it 3 numbers, 2 numbers, and then 4 numbers so that we can read it, even though it's just one big number. Same with our driver's license. Okay, so we're going to pick, it's important to figure out how many students. So it says, let's go back here. It says, I'm going to pick 5 students at random. So I'm going to pick 5 students at random and stop. And everybody has an equal chance out of my 30 students of being chosen. Okay? So now I start here, and notice that I numbered them in 2 digits, right? So I have to bunny hop every 2 numbers. And those are my selections, if that makes sense. So the first selection is 14, and that's a number in this domain, so that would be my first selection. So notice every choice has 14, so we haven't eliminated any choices yet, right? Then my next choice is 45. Well, that's not in my domain, so that I just ignore it. Ignore it. 92. Now you see what I did there. That's the number 92, a 9 and a 2. I just separated them so I can see the numbers a little bit better. So the number 92, I'm going to ignore because it doesn't fit in my domain. 60 is too big. 56 is too big. 31 is too big. 42 is too big. Yeah, 48 is too big. So notice I can start eliminating some of these. Yeah, those are, I don't have a student number 45, so that doesn't work. Okay, and so the next number I come to is 03. So I like that number, 03. That's my third student. So I notice that that works, okay? But I haven't eliminated any more, so I keep going. 71, too big. 65, too big. 10, okay, I like 10. That fits in my domain. So I'm going to pick 10. All right, no more eliminating. Keep going. 36, too big. 22, ooh, we like 22, so we're going to pick that. All right, and then 53 is too big. 22 is a repeat. Now think about this in real life. You already picked 22, so this can't work. You already picked 22. So you can't pick them twice, and you told yourself I'm going to pick 5 students. So here you've only picked 4. It's another way to kind of think about it. Okay, so we're going to keep going. So then I have 49, too big. That's a repeat. So I'm going to ignore repeats. 06. Okay, I've done it. So 06 is my final number, and so I'm going to pick the answer D. Nice work. Let's keep going. So 38, it says, suppose 35% of voters in a state are registered as Republicans, 40% are registered as Democrats, and 25 registered as independents. A newspaper wants to pick 1,000 people. So if it randomly selects 350 Republicans, 400 Democrats, and 250 independents, would this be a simple random sample? So notice the answer is no. A simple random sample would be, would probably actually might give me more relative Republicans than Democrats because everyone would have an equal chance of being chosen. So you're going to see much more variability. What they've done here is they've selected exactly 10%. So if my population was 10,000, then that would mean if 35% of voters were Republicans, then that would mean in my population I have 3,500 Republicans. And you're going to sample 350 Republicans, so you're getting exactly 10% of your sample size is Republican, exactly 10% is Democrat, exactly 10% is independent. So I have to say no, because it's definitely not a simple random sample, so those have to kind of go away. Then it says, C says no, not all registered voters have the same chance of being chosen. This is false because those would still have the same 10% chance. Each of those have a same 10% chance. The reason why it's though is not all possible groups have the same chance of being chosen. Maybe all Republicans all have a 10% chance of being chosen. Democrats have a 10% chance of being chosen. But think about it this way, since we didn't do a simple random sample, there could be more blacks or Hispanics or men or women in any one of these groups. So that would not be perhaps evenly given a chance of being chosen based on this method. Okay. 39, it says a local news agency conducted a survey about unemploying. They dialed on a phone. during the workday and got a response from 1,000 adults. In this survey, 19 said they were not currently working. In reality, only 6% are not working. What's the best explanation of the difference between the two? So the difference between the two is, in fact, non-response bias. Adults that are employed are less likely to be available for the sample because they're at work, so they're not at home answering their phone. Now, maybe in the middle of a pandemic they are, but even so, they would be underrepresented. And so you would not get their responses because you're not finding them in the place where they're at. Okay, last question. Question number 40, a simple random sample of 1,200 adult Americans is selected and each person is asked the following question. In light of the huge national deficit, should the government at this time spend additional monies to send humans to Mars? Only 39 responded with yes. So what's happening here is the way they worded the question. They seeded the question. They're leaning the listener, the decider, their way, right? So they're saying, in light of the huge national debt, should we really be sending humans to Mars? That in and of itself, the way in which you ask the question, would likely lead answerers, even if they wanted to say yes, they kind of feel like the person asked the question doesn't want them to say yes. So it probably understates the true percentage of people that would favor sending someone to Mars, okay? Because of the way they worded the question. Thanks for